Alright, so I know a lot of you guys have been asking for videos on how to play the karar. So I think I'm gonna break it down into multiple parts. I can't obviously cover everything into one video. So for now, for this video at least, we're gonna just do a little bit of music theory. I know it sounds boring, but I think it's important for everyone to know. It makes it easier going on to the other videos I'm gonna make. Makes it easier to understand in a sense. So I think for this video, we're just going to cover the scales and then what a half note, a full note, like a semitone or a half step is, and then how to tune your karar. But when you get your karar, let's say, hypothetically, let's just say that you got one, it's not going to be in tune, right? If the person is nice who sold it to you, they're going to tune it for you. But I doubt it'll be tuned, so it'll sound terrible. It'll sound very, very out of tune. Let me just... Right, it won't sound good, right? It also depends. So you're gonna get nylon strings. They're gonna detune as you tune them, so you have to keep tuning them. I'll talk more about that later on, but for now, I'm gonna switch over to my iPad, and then we're just gonna talk about a little bit of theory. So, all right, so we're just gonna cover a little bit of music theory. So the karar uses something called a pentatonic scale. It applies for all the scales, bati, tizita, basin. But essentially what a pentatonic scale is, it's just a scale that consists of 5 notes. Just 5, right? It makes sense because the karar has 5 strings. We only end up using 5 strings. So an example of pentatonic scale would be C, D, E, and then G and A. Alright, so that is a pentatonic scale. It's got 5 notes, and that is also tizita. So I'm just going to write that down here. I'm just doing a little voiceover, so it's kind of delayed. But yeah, so it's also tizita. Alright, so we're going to learn our first scale, which is called tizita, what I just mentioned a little bit earlier, just a couple seconds ago. But there's a rule that I like to follow for all tizita scales. It's called the 2-2-3-2 rule. And for now, we don't have to worry about it. I'll explain it a little bit later on in the video. Just for now, just remember 2-2-3-2. Just keep that in mind. Alright, and with that in mind, let's get on to the theory. It's good to know this because moving forward, I'm going to be mentioning some of these terms, and it'd be pretty helpful to know what they are. So we're going to talk about a difference between a half step and a full step, or I might refer it to something else. I think, what did I write here? Oh, half note and a full note. Same thing, half step, half note, full step, full note, same thing. But yeah. So now this is where knowing what a half step and a full step becomes useful. So let's say we're going to tune to a C major pentatonic scale, right? And so when I refer to it as a C major, right, the C is going to be the bass note. So it's going to be the first string that we're going to pluck, or our first note on the karar is going to be a C, hence C major scale. And so remember the 2-2-3-2 rule, because that's what half steps, that's how many half steps you have to take between each string or each note. It'll make more sense in a bit. But yeah, so it's a C major scale, so our first note is going to be a C. A note up, right? One note up is C sharp. This is referred to as a half step or a half note. Alright, so now if we were to take another half step up in the same direction, right? So that C is going to go to a D, right? It's going to change to a D. That is referred to as a full step. Now, knowing this, a full step therefore then equals 2 half steps. So 2 half steps make a full step. All right. So it's pretty easy. It's straightforward. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody there. All right, so let's say we tune to a Tzitz scale, right? Which is the first scale that we're learning. Remember, 2, 2, 3, 2. Now let's say we're going to tune it to a C major scale. Now remember what I said about the C major scale? Your C is your bass note, right? So it's your first note. We're going to go 2 notes up from C, and the next note is D, right? So 2 half steps or a full note is D. So our first note is going to be C. So we're going to add 2 half steps or a full note. And our second note is going to be D, right? So now that's 1, 2 done. We're going to do another 2. So from D, we're going to add 2 half steps or add another full note, right? So it goes D sharp and then it goes to E. So our third note, our third string is going to be an E. Hopefully everybody's following along. I hope I'm not confusing anybody here. So that's 2. Our next number is 3. So we're going to add 3 half steps to E. So it goes F, right? F, F sharp, and then G, right? So our fourth note is going to be a G. And then, so that's 3. That's done. Now we're going to do 2. Add 2 more half notes or add a full step to G. It's going to go G, G sharp, and A. And our last note, our fifth and final note, is going to be an A. Hopefully that makes sense. So I hope everyone sees where I'm getting 2, 2, 3, 2, right? If we add 2 half notes to C, it's a D. Another 2 from D, it's an E. 3 from E is G, and then 2 from G is A. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So knowing all of that, the Tzitz C major scale would be C, D, E, G, A. So that's going to be our first example. We're going to do another one. All right, so let's do a second example. So instead of a C major, let's say it's an A major scale, right? So remember what I said? So the A is going to be our bass note, right? So because it's our bass notes, A is therefore going to be our first note or our first string on the karar. Hopefully that makes sense. It's pretty straightforward. All right, on to the next part. So from there, we take A. Now we're going to use our 2, 2, 3, 2 rule. We're going to add 2 half notes. So it's going to go A sharp. Then our next note is going to be B, right? And then we're going to add another 2. So from B, it's going to go C, C sharp. So our next note is going to be a C sharp. So that's our third note. We're going to add 3 half notes to that. So C sharp, D, D sharp, E. So our next note is going to be an E. And then another 2. We're going to add 2 to E. And then it'll give us our fifth and final note, which is an F sharp. All right. Hopefully that makes more sense. But yeah, so now the scale for an A major scale, a Tzitz scale, would be A, B, C sharp, E, and F sharp. So that would be a Tzitz scale for A major. All right, pretty easy. Let's do another one. All right, so this time we're going to do an E major scale. So our bass note is going to be an E. All right, so then we're going to add 2 F sharp. So F sharp is our next note. And then we're going to add another 2 to F sharp. It's going to give us G sharp. Add 3. It's going to go A sharp, B. Right? And then add 2 to B. It's going to be C, C sharp. All right? So our Tzitz scale for an E major scale would be E, F sharp, G sharp, B, and C sharp. Cool. All right. That seems pretty easy now. The next part, we're going to tune our karar to an A major scale. So stay tuned for that.